Thank you, Dr. Leenders, for sitting down with me. My first question for you is, why has President Assad allegedly supported humanitarian assistance to the Syrian people while simultaneously obstructing Syrian population's access to aid?
Well, I think from a Syrian regime's perspective, it has been mainly a story of getting international recognition of being a sovereign state with all the perks and privileges and benefits that comes with state sovereignty, formal state sovereignty. The regime has used the humanitarian aid effort to project and reaffirm its claims on state sovereignty, which gives it an opportunity to control the aid and the significant amounts of money that are being spent on aid inside Syria, while at the same time the status it gets as a so-called responsible, or at least formally responsible partner in the international community as a sovereign state, generates all sorts of resources. For example, it allows it to have a very close relationship to the Russians, whose foreign policies are very much premised on the protection and projection of state sovereignty.
Do you believe that the balance that humanitarian assistance regimes must strike between providing relief and respecting state sovereignty shift in the future, and if so, how?
Yes, and I in fact think it should have shifted 2 years ago already, particularly in the Syrian case. I think 2 years ago it was already clear what the agenda was of the Syrian regime. They would allow international humanitarian assistance to take place, but under heavy restrictions, being manipulated, blocked and obstructed by the regime. I think by then there should have been some alarm bells ringing in the donor countries that they were not just getting good value for the money spent on humanitarian aid, which involves billions of US dollars on Syria alone. The route of granting aid to non-UN actors, NGOs willing to engage in cross-border aid and servicing also rebel-held territories should have been considered already years ago. And that is, I hope, a route that is going to receive more attention in the nearby future.
And lastly, how will the mutual interest in combating ISIS, now shared by Assad and by main donor countries such as the UK, France, and Germany, affect Assad's resilience?
I think it's going to be the regime's trump card. I think in many respects the concerns about ISIS, particularly after the Paris attacks, have grown so much, have become so alarming in the West, that the Syria crisis is almost being reduced to an ISIS problem. Now, ISIS obviously is a major challenge, but it's not the only challenge, because the other challenge being the Syrian regime, which led the jihadist problem in Syria and in the region at large to evolve and develop in the first place. So for the Syrian regime, the ISIS present is a gift in a way, because it allows it to make the argument that, well, it's either us or these bunch of guys. And again, coming back to state sovereignty, it kind of coats itself into a veneer of respectability as a sovereign state in an international state system, which it can contrast with the unruly lot of jihadist extremism.
Thank you so much.
Good.